Hello, folks. Here we are, Saturday again. Just doing a little more on the toy box. See, it's not supposed to rain. I don't think today. I think it's supposed to rain again tomorrow and Monday. But anyway, good weather to be working inside. So you can see I got the wall primed. My understanding is it's better to prime the stuff, especially if it's wood, before you tape it or patch any of the holes. You know, even if you're doing spackle, they say it's always better to prime first. That way all the moisture doesn't run right out of the patching material and into the material on the wall. So the patch, in this case the taping, acts more normal than it would otherwise. So prime the wall first. Did that yesterday. We were about to start doing some taping. Okay, I'm using that on the joints. I'm using that here, this yellow stuff, the self-adhesive netting. Okay, I'm going to do all the joints with that. The corners I'm doing with paper tape. I don't know if you can do corners with the netting stuff, but I'm doing the corners with the paper tape, and I'm going to start in there. Figured I'd start with the hardest part and work my way out. That little area there's the recess. You know, the garage door is recessed in the front of the building, and that's what creates that little area there. What I'm going to do with that, once I have it all smoothed off, you know, covered and the joints all covered and all that painted and all that, I'm going to put some shelf supports in there and fill that little area with shelves. It's good for, you know, storing oils and solvents and whatever other kind. Like I said, a whole row of shelves in there ought to be real handy. That thing is like 26 inches deep and about a foot wide, and I don't know, 9 feet tall. So yeah, that ought to be a nice little storage space. It's a terrible place to work. It's a bitch to work in. You can't turn sideways. You got to stand facing one wall or stand facing the other wall, and can't hardly get your hands in front of you, but because it's only, like I said, about a foot deep. So it's a bitch of a spot to work in, but once it's all set up, it ought to make a nice little storage spot. So anyway, that's what we're up to today. I'll show you more later. See ya. Bye. Okay, it's 5 o'clock, and this is as far as I got today. I concentrated on the corners. I mixed up 1 pan of taping compound. You got to thin it out, kind of. That's what I mean by mix it up. And I started with the corners, and that's as far as I got. Kind of a pain in the ass, especially in here. Like I say, you can't get in there hardly. You got to reach in and do everything. So there's a fair amount of work in there too. Anyway, and that's, I think, as far as I'm going to go in there. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to put any topping on top of the tape. Just kind of do a fire tape. Like I said, it's going to be all shelves. Are going to get buried with stuff anyway. So anyway, that's as far as I got today. Tomorrow I'll do all the yellow tape. You see the yellow tape up there? That's that net stuff. Well, I'm hoping I'm going to do that anyway. My wife has some other ideas and other projects she wants to work on. That takes 2 of us. So I may not do anything here tomorrow. Anyway, that's as far as I got today. Bye. Hi, folks. Well, it is Tuesday. We got past President's Day, and we're back to work, you see. Actually made sausage yesterday. Didn't work in here yesterday. Played Italian sausage maker. Yeah, there's another video on my channel if you want to look at that, but it's not the current one. It was done a while back. But anyway, spent another half a day in here today doing this. You see, I got the yellow net tape covered, and put some compound on all the knot holes and screw holes and all that stuff. So anyway, yeah, did that. Remember there was a yellow tape running across there because there's a little, about a 3.5-inch piece up there going across the top. So that's done. Well, first coat. Probably need at least one more. But there's some more progress. All right. See ya. Hi folks, back here in the toy box again, working once more. See what I'm doing here today is floating the wall. So remember this was plywood, and it wasn't high grade, high priced, smooth, sanded, all that good stuff. Plywood had a lot of, voids in it. It was like sheeting plywood. Had voids in it from knots and stuff that were maybe 1/16 of an inch deep, and a lot of this kind of graining. See here? Nothing too fancy. You can see the knot holes there, and a lot of like the little kind. I don't see any around here. Where are they? You can see there's a lot of stuff that's already had the first coat on there. So what I'm doing now is I'm floating the whole thing. I did the joints. You see there's a vertical joint right there, another one there, and it's got that horizontal joint that goes, you see where the foundation steps down, it's over 8 feet to the ceiling. And I had like a 3.5-inch piece at the top, so there's a horizontal joint up there too. Anyway, today I did the corner over here, and I'm coming across doing the floating all the plywood. In other words, to smooth it all up. Just put a coat on there on the whole thing, and then I'll sand that whole wall once it's dry. And it should look pretty good. It may not look perfect, but it is a garage, so I don't care if it looks perfect as long as it looks decent. If it looks that good, I'm happy. And I noticed on that one a lot of the joints showed up after it sat for a while. You can see right there. Well, you can't see maybe in the video, but right under the left side of that license plate, there's a joint, and you can see where the tape has come loose, or I don't know what happened. Maybe the taping compound that I had may not have been all-purpose. It may have been topping, but for whatever reason, a lot of the tape joints, that mesh stuff, showed up. So I don't know if the lumber was wet enough that it soaked in and it shrunk, or what's going on, but like I said, it's a garage, so it's okay. In the meantime, I'm selling off some stuff that I've had for like 30 years, and obviously I haven't used it in 3 decades, so don't think I'm going to use it. I've got some Corvette wheels, and the trim rings, and inside that box under the trim rings is the derby caps. And this stuff was really nice. The trim rings and the derby caps were, I think the guy that I bought them from had replaced them. And then he changed the wheels on his Corvette to a mag type wheel. So I bought them from that guy. So the rings and the caps are like new. And what I'm doing over here is making some things to lift the Model A, to put the Model A, the pickup over there, to put it on the lift. I'm going to do this so that I can put that goes on the bottom of, that goes on the arm on the lift. And then what I'll do is I'll put this in the arm. Sorry, I'm not pointing the camera where I should be. I'll put that in the arm, and that will, let me show you. Oh, I got all kinds of stuff in my way here. I got the scaffold in the way. That will go right there, up into the 4-bar. In other words, the arm will move over underneath this, and that's how I'll pick it up. I'll cushion this. I'll put some like 1/8 inch, some thick rubber in there. I'll cushion that, so that I'll do that there. And so I'm making 4 of them, so I can do it here too. And that'll be a nice way of picking this up. Should be simple. This is kind of a pain, this setup here. You got to get the vehicle just in the right spot, otherwise the arms don't reach in the right spot, place. And you see how tight that is to the running board and the fender. If you don't put all this adapter stuff up there, it wants to hit. So this other thing will lower. You see that'll I'll have this piece under there, so that'll work nice. And like I said, in the back it's a problem. It's kind of a pain in the ass too, because the little piece underneath the frame there wants to hit the handbrake cable, and it wants to hit the 4-bar, and so it's, like I said, it's a pain the way it is now. And the other thing we're going to do under here at some point real soon is modify that cross member. See that cross member that goes around there? Because from here, as you can see, there's hardly any room for exhaust to go around. I mean, this suspension is hanging right now. And you see there's hardly enough room for exhaust to go over there. When you compress it by putting the vehicle on it, and then you start going over bumps or whatever, there's no room for exhaust up there. So I'm going to modify that rear cross member. I'm going to go straight back with some 2x2 tubing set to make some room. And I'm also going to put some longer coilovers. The coilovers that they gave me when I started building this are too short. They need to be at least 2 inches longer, because I got them in the top hole, and I got them wound up quite a bit on the spring, and the thing is still, like I said, they're too short. Yeah, they're too short. They need to be about 2 inches longer. Then I can use a lower hole and not have to wind the adjuster up that far on the spring. So anyway, that's kind of what's going on right here. Still haven't welded that piece on, but when my son comes over to weld up these lift brackets, he can do that too. Make it count, make the trip count. And at any rate, we'll show you more when we got more to show you. In the meantime, that's where we're at right now. Thanks for watching. Bye. Okay, well, this is where we're going to leave it for today, unless I come out after dinner. It's time for dinner now, and we don't want to screw up dinner. So I got one more little bit to do. You see where it's white? Where that step happens in the foundation, we got to go from there to that vent. And then the rest of it's done. And then obviously we have to do the other side of the corner, the ceiling side of the corner up there. So I think we're going to do that tomorrow. I don't think I'm going to come back out here later. I don't know, it depends how much energy it feels like. Usually after I have dinner, body starts to digest and I fall asleep. I get tired, not energized at this stage. So I think that's where we're going to leave it for today. We'll finish that bottom part tomorrow, and we'll finish the ceiling side of that corner, the top corner, tomorrow. And then that was what, Thursday. And then Friday, maybe we will sand it, go from there. All right? Talk to you later. Bye.